That's how I ended up inquiring and found out both formulas. Well, the guards, sometimes they do it like this. And the guards said they was doing that because they was trying to get to the equality fast. Whatever the reason. And then when the guard said, but this is the way you do it, because in all actuality, each letter is a number. And then he broke it down to me. Now, and then we would cross-reference that with Gumar Complete. I know what I'm talking about, son. So I don't know. To me, you mixing alphabets and mathematics, no matter which way you do it. If you come up with equality, I just showed you the formula. You're mixing it. And if you do it with born equality and go down and finally get to equality, and actually you get to get an extra number when you do it that way, because when you do it the correct way, how I was taught, that was the correct way. Because they said the other way was numerology, or some cat named Robert Walker came up with the numerology version of it. That's what I heard. I didn't pay it no attention because I never met New Robert Walker. I never heard of him, never saw him. He wasn't there when I got there. They had already ran him from amongst us. So I never had to encounter him. His lessons, they burnt them up in the 70s or sometime and back then. I never saw him nor his lessons, nor did I ever get any training by him. My shit comes straight out of my line. My line goes back to Qasim and then Messiah. It is what it is. Before that is Gumar. It's a short line. It's not hard to get to the top. The Father, Messiah, Qasim, Gumar Complete, Allah Foundation. That's who we was talking to. We was talking to Allah Foundation, and we was talking to because sometimes I would be around the older guards, but I wouldn't know who they were. I didn't know who they were. They were all there, and it wasn't like they were like there, and everybody was all around them. I'm brand new. I'm standing back here doing the knowledge. I've been in the nation. I was in the nation like 90 days when I learned that formula. So I wasn't questioning no one. I was taking it as it was being born. I didn't even know there was a rift between you got equality and I got born equality. I never heard that. That wasn't there then. That's some new cyberspace shit that's going on. That shit wasn't in Medina. When I was in Medina, I didn't hear nothing about no power refinement, justice. I just knew that certain people had it the way they got it because that's the tree they came from. And that's how the other trees knew which tree you came from. Your shit wasn't supposed to be exactly the same as mine if your tree wasn't mine. That's how I got an understanding of it. I didn't know that later on they was going to be talking about this tree is the dominant tree and we all need to be like this tree. Yeah, right. And then, because I had that degree where the father was saying, well, it wasn't the father, but it was a plus degree speaking on what the father told them. And he was saying to the effect that if he wanted us to have all our lessons exactly the same, he would have made us Muslims. Because you could believe it that Elijah Muhammad's Muslims, because back then Elijah Muhammad's Muslims were still around, and the degree goes, you can believe that Elijah Muhammad's Muslims, they all got their lessons exactly the same, and they quoted exactly the same. Word for word, period, commas, everything is exactly the same. In the God Nation, it depends on who your enlightener was and what tree you go back to is how you got yours. Like some people got, in 120, they got 1 to 10, 1 to 14, 1 to 36, 1 to 40. Actual fact. So far, I didn't even know that when I got my 120. I didn't know. I thought everybody had their 120 like mine. I didn't know that other people had the other 120. It took me years to find that out. What happened was, I'm building with a guard and I'm going through 120 like 120. See, so the whole 120 is counted in numbers also. 120, it's 120 all the way up. Like 96 would be, tell us the exact number of years, months, and days the devil being birthed on our planet. 6,020 years, 72,241 months, 2,197,351 days of days. Right. So that would also be understanding equality in the 1 to 40. The God was just speaking on the wisdom cipher degree in the 1 to 40. He was speaking on the wisdom cipher degree in the 1 to 40, right? What is the prescribed laws of Islam to a said person of that ability? And he was building on the 16th degree in the 1 to 40. Who is the 5% of this poor part of the planet Earth? Yeah, and so I found out my tree, like what happened was, I didn't have my tree all the way. I had new spots in the tree, but there was middle parts in the tree. Like I didn't know how my shit went from Messiah to get to Master Eye God. I knew Allah Foundation was in between Master Eye God and Messiah, but I didn't know who was in between that. Like we didn't know. He didn't know either. He didn't know who taught Allah Foundation. So what happened was one day I'm at a show and prove, and I meet now Allah. See, this shows you the importance of talking to the elders. Not to say that, you know, I'm older than the sun, moon, and stars, but you know what I mean. Somebody been in the nation longer than you. He been in the nation mad longer than me. People could be the same age, and one person been in the nation longer than them. So it's not based on that. Anyway, long story short, I'm talking to him because he said, you know, he heard me building about Nubia, the city of gold. That's where I was from, and he was saying he didn't know me, and he was from Nubia, who was my enlightener. So I told him who my enlightener was. He didn't know my enlightener either. He was like, I don't know Master Eye God. So he said, well, who enlightened Master Eye God? I was lucky I knew that, because some people might not even know past their enlightenment. I said, well, the God Allah Foundation was Eye God's enlightener. That's why I always show people my enlightenment, because he always was showing me his. So then now Allah says, oh, I know Allah Foundation. Then he started giving me the whole rundown on what was happening when they were teenagers and young 20s and what was going on in the nation back in those times, 60s and 70s and shit, because that's the era they was in the nation, in the 60s and the 70s. So they got 20 years on the average person if they came in when I came in the 80s. So anyway, he's building and showing and proving, taking through the historical events, history in the nation. And somehow enlighteners come up, and I was asking him, well, who enlightened Allah Foundation? And he told me Gumar Complete enlightened Allah Foundation. And then he told me who enlightened Gumar, and on up the ladder till it was all connected. I was like, wow, oh, you son, you hooked me up, because I would have never knew that. That's something that you're going to get more than likely verbal. You have to go and you have to talk to the elder gods and build with them, Like a lot of the young guys, they be thinking I'm an elder god, but I'm not. I'm not up there with them. I wasn't there. I wasn't around in the 60s with them. And even if I would have been there, I would have been too young to even, comprehend what they were talking about. In the 70s, I wouldn't have knew what the fuck they was talking about. Word is bond. But now, by the 80s, I was mature enough to absorb 120. And what happened was, when I was in the circle, right, I had seen Prince Love, Universal Prince Love. He was building one, and he was saying the same thing. He was saying he liked to use the mathematics, knowledge of wisdom, self-divine. So he liked that too. He did that too. I heard him speaking like that, and I heard him building, like how you see today's mathematics. He was going through it. That's how I first encountered the gods. Was I seen Prince Love holding a cipher. I could tell you right where we was too. We was on Pennsylvania Avenue in that mall. There was a mall. There's still a mall on Pennsylvania Avenue. It goes all the way up almost the Flatlands. Right, so anyway, they in the mall. I'm coming through the mall, and they're over there on the side building. They in a cipher, and there's a lot of them. That's how I'm looking. I'm like, wow, what they doing? I'm thinking, in my head, I'm saying, oh, it must be a fight. I'm going to go see. So when I get there, I see Prince Love in the middle, and I knew Prince Love. And I said, oh, it's Prince Love. Must be got his disciples, because that's what he used to say, these are my disciples and shit. And don't be messing with his disciples, because he'd come around there and whoop your ass. But anyway, because Under used to tell me, because really Under and them was with Prince Love and them. So I said, I know I didn't say anything. I just got next to the cipher and stood there and did the knowledge. And when it was all over, I pulled him to the side. He was talking to him, and then we started talking, and he started, putting me down when he saw I was interested. That's how I got it. But every time it was that attraction to something like King Now Cipher Wiz of Lord Equality, Divine God Equality. They was doing that, and that's what attracted me. All right, and I'm out. Peace.